Hey there, guys. Welcome to day 4 of At Home Learning. Today we're going to be reviewing section 4 of chapter 8. I've got 5 examples for you, and then I'll have an assignment for you to try. Tomorrow there won't be a video. I will just be posting the answers to your assignment tonight, and you can check your work and ask questions on anything you got wrong or anything that you're still confused on. So we'll go ahead and get started with our first example problem. It's going to be 15a over b minus 6b over 5. All right, so we are adding and subtracting these rational expressions. We have to make common denominators. So for these single denominators here, very easy common denominator. You just multiply them together. 5b is going to be our common denominator. So we'll put those two new fractions with that common denominator, and then we will find out from our previous denominator to a new denominator, what did we multiply by. So from b to 5b, you multiplied by 5. So the top has to be multiplied by 5 as well. 15a times 5 is going to give us 75a. Our second fraction from 5 to 5b, we multiplied by b. So the numerator will need to be multiplied by b. 6b times b is going to be 6b squared. Now that we have that common denominator, we just do what the numerators say. They're not alike, so they'll just kind of go separate. It's going to be 75a minus 6b squared all over that common denominator of 5b. And you just got to look at your numerator. Is there anything that will factor out of that? 3 does divide both of those terms, but it's not going to cancel anything out, so I'm not even going to mess with it. You could factor out the 3, though, and get what would result, but nothing would cancel, so it's fine like that. Let's look at our second example. Number 2. We're going to have 3 over x plus 2 minus 2x over x squared minus 4. Okay. So I'm looking at this second denominator, and it's going to factor. You should recognize it that it's a difference of squares, so it factors very easily. What's the square root of x squared? X. What's the square root of 4? 2. So it's going to be x plus 2 times x minus 2. So that's really what that denominator is. So what would be the common denominator between x plus 2 and x plus 2 times x minus 2? Well, it's going to be the x plus 2 that's in common plus the x minus 2 that the other one will need. So our common denominator is going to be x plus 2 times x minus 2 minus sign. So I make 2 new fractions, each with that, since it's the common denominator. From this denominator to that denominator, what is new? The x minus 2 is, so the top's going to get multiplied by x minus 2. We'll go ahead and distribute that, and that would be 3x minus 6. The second denominator did not change, so the numerator would not change. So now we just do what the numerators say. We do have some like terms this time, so we would have 3x minus 2x, which is 1x, or just x. And then the minus 6 doesn't have anything to combine, so you're just going to rewrite that. And that's going to be over that denominator of x plus 2 times x minus 2. And there's nothing to cancel here. Remember, you can't cancel across addition or subtraction, so none of these x's can cancel each other out. And you can't reduce the 2 and the 6 either. So that's the final answer there. Let's look at a third example. We're going to do 9 over x minus 3 plus 9 over 3 minus x. Alright, so the first thing I notice on this problem is that second denominator is out of order. In the correct order, it would be negative x plus 3. And then you don't want your first term to be negative, so you'd kind of factor that out, and it would be negative x minus 3. And then also, it's weird to have a negative in the denominator, so we're going to float it up to this plus, and it's going to change that to a minus sign. So what we're going to have is 9 over x minus 3 minus now 9 over x minus 3. So after we did that, we created common denominators. We do what our numerators say. 9 minus 9 is 0, and 0 over x minus 3 is just going to end up being 0 as well. So that's going to be your final answer there. So again, remember, if something's out of order, put it in the correct order, and a lot of times you're going to have to factor out that negative. Just a couple more examples here, and then you can get on to your assignment. Okay, number 4. It's going to be y plus 2 over y plus 3 minus 2. So remember, if you have a whole number, you can put any whole number over 1. So what would the common denominator between 1 and y plus 3 be? Well, clearly it's going to be y plus 3. So I make 2 new fractions, each with y plus 3 as that denominator. So this denominator clearly did not change, so the numerator would not change either. That denominator, everything is new. The y plus 3 is new, so the top would have to be multiplied by y plus 3 as well. So that 2 is going to distribute, giving you 2y plus 6. Now remember, if you have a minus sign and there's more than one thing in that in that second fraction, it's got to distribute. So really, it's a negative 2y and a minus 6 when you distribute that negative. We combine those like terms, and y minus 2y is negative 1y, or just negative y. And then 2 minus 6 is negative 4, all over that common denominator of y plus 3. And that's a fine answer there. There's nothing that can reduce any further. Again, you could factor out the negative and make it a negative on the outside of the parenthesis with y plus 4, but that's not going to get anything to cancel, so there's no point in doing that. And I would just leave it like this for my final answer. All right, one more example for you. X over x squared minus 1 minus 2 over x squared minus 2x plus 1. Okay. So looking at both of those, they're both factorable, right? This one's a difference of squares, factors very quickly to the square root of each term, 1 plus, 1 minus. So that's going to be x plus 1, x minus 1. And then this one also factors pretty quickly. We don't have a number in front of that squared term, so we can go ahead and go straight into our 2 parentheses, drop an x in the front of both parentheses. If my third sign is positive, I adopt the sign of my second for both, so it's going to be 2 minuses. There's only one way to get 1, it's 1 times 1, and those do add to 2, so we drop them in as well. So it's factored to x minus 1 times x minus 1. So now that those denominators are completely factored, we're going to go ahead and find the common denominator. So between those two things, there's going to be an x plus 1 that this one has, and then they each have an x minus 1 in common, but there's also no additional x minus 1. So it's going to be 3 factors. It's going to be x plus 1, x minus 1, and another x minus 1. So I'll make 2 fractions, each with that as the common, or as the denominator, and then I just figure out what's new. From here to there, there's an additional x minus 1. So my numerator needs to be multiplied by x minus 1. That would give you x squared minus x if you distributed it. And the second one, from here to there, what's new? The x plus 1 is new, so the top gets multiplied by x plus 1. Go ahead and distribute that 2 through, and you'd have 2x plus 2. And then just like the last example, there's a negative with more than one thing, so that negative is going to have to distribute. So it's going to really be negative 2x minus 2 for that numerator. If we combine those like terms, we would have x squared, negative x minus 2x more is negative 3x, and then the minus 2 as well. All over that common denominator of x plus 1, x minus 1, x minus 1. Now we need to check that numerator. It probably will factor, and I bet it's going to cancel with one of those things. So again, we can go straight into those 2 parentheses because there's no number in front of that squared term. And since my third sign is negative this time, I'm going to have x plus something and x minus something. The factors of 2 are 1 times 2. I need it to subtract to make 3. It actually does not factor. There's no nothing that subtracts to make 3. If that were an addition sign, I could add to make 3, but it doesn't go, it actually doesn't factor. So that's going to be our final answer. We have to check though to make sure it does, if it factors or not. So it didn't, so that's going to be your final answer there because it had to subtract to make 3, not add to make 3. So looks like that's as far as that will go. Okay, so the assignment that you're going to be doing is on the link in the hub. You're going to do the problems of 4 through 52, the multiples of 4. So it's 13 problems. Shouldn't take you more than 20 minutes to do. Let me know if you need any help while working on things. Remember, tomorrow I will post the answers to 4 through 52, the multiples of 4. You can check your answers and let me know if you need any help with anything, if you're getting stuff wrong, whatever you need. And remember, the quiz is going to be on Monday, okay? And that's going to be on my math lab in the quizzes and tests section. So good luck. Let me know if you need any help. Talk to you later.